Welcome to the Peachtree Podcast. Peachtree Learning Center is a nonprofit in Middle Tennessee dedicated to training and discipling students in all the fine arts to become excellent and skilled in order to spread the kingdom of God into the world of the arts. On this podcast, we will discuss topics designed to encourage, uplift, educate, and equip people to proclaim the kingdom more deeply in their own families and communities. I wanted to talk also about kind of the benefits that y'all have seen come out of training children in musical disciplines already. And I know y'all are young, but I mean, Olivia's been teaching. You've been teaching music now for 5-6 years. Lucy, you've got that much experience, and you've taught in a couple different settings. And then Sarah, you've got like 10 years of experience now. Makes you sound old.
Yeah.
But you've taught in several different kinds of settings.
2 different schools.
Gone and pursued extra training with the Suzuki Institute and gotten some certification behind that. And kind of share with me a little bit about, specifically at Peachtree, but just in general, ways you think you've already seen music instruction, both private and group settings, benefit children as they grow up. Because you've been around long enough to see some children in really young settings, and then they've gotten older, or you came along maybe when you saw them in junior high school and now they're graduating, kind of thing. And you can see, I know I see lots of benefits, but I wanted to hear from you all about what you think already you can see. And I guess that could apply to your own lives because you all had musical training forever. But just as a teacher, from a teacher perspective, what kind of benefit do you already see coming out of some of that?
I just see it as a huge ground for things to sprout. Like it's kind of like the very first thing where a lot of the initial exposure to music happens, and where you think about songs that you know, and you think about, how did I learn this song? And I'll think, oh, I learned this song when I was 5 and I danced to it in a ballet class, or I learned this song because I played it in piano, when I was just starting. And so you think that a majority of the songs that you know came from those early experiences. And so I see it as I get the gift of showing them things, of saying, here, look at this. This is wonderful music. And then they discover it for the first time, and then they take it home and they never forget about it. Even if I feel like they do sometimes, they don't. So there's that. And then if they're taking a private lesson in tandem with that, it can be isolating sometimes because you only ever see yourself. Mm-hmm. So then you get to be around other kids who are doing the same thing and exploring the same things together. And then it gives a little more purpose to what they're doing in their private lessons, and they see, oh, this is what I could do with that. And I mean, it's just even where they can be inspired to pick up an instrument themselves. And I know other older students now who say, yeah, that day in music class when so-and-so played this instrument, that was the day I decided I wanted to play. I mean, that's kind of what happened with Sarah in the violin, right? It's like you saw somebody play and you said, now I want to do that. So the class is a place where we can get them in that space where that kind of exposure can happen.
Mm-hmm. Exposure is a big word.
Creating the environment.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And in this day and age, people don't go to as many live concerts or as part of as many concerts. And so I think seeing instruments, but also singing together and, playing music together live in a room actually is worth quite a lot, instead of, I love albums and recordings and they've inspired me personally, but it is also good to be with other people, and singing together really does form a bond. And I've seen a lot of younger children come through music class and they're best friends now. And they may not be part of music, and sometimes they are, but it really does bond you in a different way.
I think it does too.
I have a couple of stories that come to mind from just seeing, for lack of a better term, result in a private lesson. One of our favorites that we've talked a lot about was I had a mandolin student for many years who was a homeschool guy, super, super great guy personally, and wonderful family. And he played the mandolin, and we got all the way through some of the highest techniques and levels of an instrument that I could with him through his high school. And then he graduated, and he's not doing anything with music at all. He's doing all these other things that he's gifted at and needs to do, which is great. But I remember kind of like our last lesson in that close of that chapter, we're working with him, feeling like, okay, he has the ability to do whatever he wants to with this instrument, and he's going to use that for the rest of his life or not. But he actually wrote us a card after graduation that was really impacted a lot. It was very impactful for us and it was like just exactly the goal in a nugget of, I feel, because of my time at Peachtree in choir and in mandolin lessons and various recitals and ensembles and different performances that came with that, is that I feel capable of speaking in public. I feel capable of walking across the stage. I feel capable of carrying myself in an interview, and in just whatever situation he was going to find himself in, he felt capable because of his experience in music. And I think that was just such kind of a closure of chapter for working with him. But like, that's the goal, is that you feel capable of whatever it is you're called to. And maybe he'll play mandolin again in 10 years. Maybe he plays next year. Maybe he plays today. I don't know. But the goal was definitely achieved on a personal level. And I think that's just really beautiful to see when someone can see it through to that.
And is able to see it that quickly.
To some extent, of course it is about learning music and learning an instrument, and that's what we're about. But a lot of it is equipping, and it equips your humanity in a lot of ways. And I love this about theater and singing, especially, is you really learn to be vulnerable in a healthy way. And this is the best environment you can learn it in.
It's true.
And then it kind of opens up so much, and you feel the right kind of confidence to move forward and to just be, well-working human. And you can carry on conversations and go to job interviews. You can carry yourself in a different way, in a better way, once you have carried through an education with music. And I think the school years are the best time to do that. And music, especially music lessons and classes, I think kind of form that in a really wonderful way.
I think music is unique in a couple of ways. It, for one thing, it's something that's not, it's almost never private. It can be, but it takes a lot of effort to keep it private. It's something that's meant to be shared, and that's different, I think, from other fine arts, especially visual arts, which is also shared, but it's just a totally different kind of sharing. It's not a communal activity usually. It's you can have collaborative projects, but when you're in a music ensemble and you're having to be on a team and play as part of a team, it's just a totally different kind of dynamic and relationship and vulnerability, because you're really only as strong as the weakest player in the group. And I know people learn that particular lesson in sports, but there's a lack of competition, at least at Peachtree. We don't compete. We're not trying to win anything. We're literally trying to make the best product come forth from the students we have to work with. And y'all are so great about being able to tailor the music even. We're very blessed with a team at Peachtree you've been trained to the point that you can actually arrange music so that everybody on every skill level is made to shine and given a way to excel, and they can persevere and step up, but they don't have to feel bad if they're not quite as competent as the next guy. And so it's wonderful to put an ensemble on stage and see all 10, maybe 10 people out there playing, but all different levels respected and given something that they can grow into, but they're also not incapable of doing. I love that, but that's...
but also I've had one day, it's been a while now, but these sisters are still very active musically, but I've taught these sisters in tandem for several years, and their dad called me really excited one random evening. And when a dad calls you, you know it's either serious or super, super good. But he called me, and he was so excited because he said, I just walked in from a really long day at work, and my girls were playing this beautiful duet, and I just sat there and they had no idea I was there, and I was just crying because I have this beautiful music in my home. They obviously love each other through playing this music, and I was just really touched that they could have that special of a moment as a family at home, right, because they got to a certain point in their instrument and they're using it in life.
There's a beautiful exchange with music in the home as well, between siblings, or even just siblings hearing each other, or parents.
I love seeing parents pair up with children and play.
Yeah, and one of my favorite things is hearing parents kind of discover what their children can do. I've had several parents of my vocal students come up to me crying and saying, I had no idea my child could sound like that. And that, there's something really beautiful about a parent discovering the potential in their children. And it gets me so excited.
Yeah. You've got a song, Lucy, called Front Porch Fame, which I absolutely love, that I've gotten to hear several times. But I always think when I hear that song, I always think about, 150 years ago, that was a form of entertainment. There weren't movies to go to. There was certainly nothing like TV or anything. And one of the common entertainments that every family had access to was sitting on the porch playing music together, or playing for their neighbors, or they'd have get-togethers in their small community and they would dance to live musicians, or they would have just sit around the room and play music together. And it's very important in the world of fine arts. I think one of the big things we need to preserve as believers is the concept of being human, and that is lived out largely in artistic pursuits, or at least creative pursuits. It's totally different from anything else in creation. And
because humanity is the only creature created in the image of God.
Exactly.
And so
he's
pursuing
creative.
humanity is pursuing that image,
Right.
to an extent that can obviously be taken to the wrong extreme. But
yeah, it's absolutely something we want to encourage, and something that's kind of central to the whole heart of Peachtree, at least, is just the idea of encouraging children to pursue that creativity. And
There are so many lessons to be learned in taking music lessons, and we have all experienced this. We've all learned diligence and perseverance and picking yourself up and learning to do what must be done
working through embarrassing
by
moments.
working through that. And I remember getting to a point, you get to that point where I guess maybe it's you're on the edge of a breakthrough, but you're like, I just feel like I could just quit right now. And then you look around, you go, well, where else will I learn these lessons? And if I can learn it
Right.
in my voice lessons,
Right.
that's way better than learning it
out on the battlefield somewhere.
in front of hundreds of people, in a job or a professional setting. I would way
Or
rather
as a
learn
parent,
it.
I mean, honestly,
Right.
helping your child just stick it out. Like, climbing a mountain does not happen straight up. If you go up the side of a mountain, there are little pockets where you sometimes go back down, or you wind to the left or right, or you're on a plateau, and then you have to go hit the next section of hillside. But it's not a straight up event. You don't go straight up a mountain. And just letting your children figure out what that weaving back and forth looks like, and what the discouragement feels like, and then working through it anyway. That's just huge. And it's hard to get that anywhere more stress-free than in music or art or something creative.
And being in an ensemble setting or a class can help you push through those times where you just want to quit, because then
Right.
you see your friends doing music and you go, oh, well, I want to do, do this with them. A little healthy peer pressure never hurts, and
Yeah.
yeah.
And on the importance of being in classes, I think as Peachtree music classes, we could easily be gearing toward a performance and a show for the entire year. But and we try not to do that, to have weekly lessons, and it's not just gearing toward a show.
Right.
But we do have shows, and I think there's a great importance of performing together. And we've seen so many students on the verge of, hey, I don't want to do this anymore. And they perform with their friends, they perform with their group, and they go, oh, I get it now. I love this. And we've seen students just come back on fire for what they, I'm going to dig in and do this now, because they feel
It's kind of a pinnacle moment.
right. They feel the energy and excitement that happens with performing, even if it's not, even a huge thing. It's so encouraging to see that.
Yeah.
yeah, that's definitely true in group environments in spades. I also see that in private lessons too. I have a little girl that I love working with that I think last year she'd been playing for over a year, maybe 2 years, and she was just really shy. And so we got to recital season, and she's supposed to get up there and play her song, and she was in tears for hours before this recital. Like, I had talked to her right before the recital in the side room. Her mom has been talking to her for hours, and she was just so incredibly nervous. But her mom is a beautiful mother, and she was really trying to push her in the skill. Like, I can't, like, she's like, one of those, I can't let the situation rule you.
Right.
You know, you have
Yes.
to rule the situation. That's such a huge lesson. And so that's what she was experiencing very emotionally. And she got on the stage to play her minuet or gavotte or whatever song it was. And I think me and her mother were so tense in the room. I looked over at her and we were both like just like praying that she would just live through this moment.
Make it through.
And she did it, and she actually did it really well and way better than she thought she could. And at the end, I could just see this weight lift off of her. And ever since then, that was over a year ago, I think. But ever since then, she has just really dug in as a person. She's blossoming as a young girl. Her parents have gotten her a little bit better instrument so that she doesn't have to fight her equipment. And they're very invested in this skill, and she loves playing music, and certain things are very challenging for her, but she feels capable of the challenge.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's something else that I think we all try very hard to create, especially with older students, is not necessarily an environment of competition like is very
Right,
often
no.
seen. Like I've been in a lot of orchestral situations and secular orchestral situations, and they're extremely competitive. And a little bit of competition is fine and healthy and fun. I think it depends on the personality sometimes, but creating an environment of challenge and being able to step up to the challenge is a big deal.
Yeah. And what better way to learn to face your fears?
Exactly.
Because, performing in a small recital environment is definitely can be very
Very daunting.
inducing, but it really is the best situation.
It is.
And I love telling students, these are all your friends. You have, one of the biggest lessons I was taught in my own education was when you perform, you have nothing to lose and nothing to prove.
Yes.
And I take that into life all the time. I can be confident in who I am in Christ. I have nothing to prove to anybody else. And I've learned that through my music education.
That's great. Reining it back in, I know that for Peachtree, the special focus we talk about every year in our faculty meetings is not letting anyone come in the door and leave an hour later not having no thought that they've encountered the Lord. And all of this does come back down to just a basic loving children because they're made in the image of God. And because we love God, therefore we love these children, just like we love all human beings. And in a special way because they are young and they have no baggage yet. And they are very impressionable. And some of them are struggling with some real hard life issues. And when they come into Peachtree, we want that to feel like a haven and a safe place and a nurturing place and a place where their artistic and creative passions can be refreshed and, lived out. And if we can tuck that into their jacket with a little bit of a relationship, that's a pretty powerful gift, I think.
Yeah,
So,
I've definitely seen students come and go that have gone through worse things than
Yeah,
I ever have.
we definitely
and
have,
that's where
sure.
the ministry comes in. Like I can help you, and music really is very healing, and so I think it does help them.
I think all the fine arts can be very healing and therapeutic, just on a general level. So we've been at this for a while. We could talk for hours, but we better wrap it up. And I'm just going to thank you all for coming in. We have a very special group of people teaching music at Peachtree and haven't got to talk too much of that side of things. So thank you for making time this morning.
Thank you. It's an
been
honor
good
to
hear.
work with you all.
It's a huge blessing. So we hope that this ignites a passion in your home for just helping your children pursue music and other fine arts in a fresh way. And we'll tuck this in and hope that you find a blessing in it and have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for joining us today. To support this podcast, please go follow us on your podcast platform of choice. And if you're interested in knowing more about the work of Peachtree, please go visit our website at peachtreelearningcenter.com for more information.